All right, number one. A Journey with Bernie and Chip.
Yes. I can't stop saying.
No deviation.
Buttoned.
A Journey with Bernie is a brand that describes a lifestyle. It's no longer the name of just a podcast. Mm-hmm. It's a pathway. It's inviting our listeners to join us in discovering an evolving, growing philosophy that we believe can inspire our three objectives. But now we know that our first objective is to help everyone to create sustainable inner happiness and joy.
Perfect.
Why? Because with that joy, you can beautifully forget about yourself. Stop the inner focus and put yourself in a beautiful position to share that joy in the form of love with other people and the game of life. And why? We think, someone else may have another perspective on it, we think this adds great meaning to our existence and to the globe. It's okay for a young man up to 28 years of age, plus or minus 2.
I like that you got that firm number. That's great.
30, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? To be totally lost. I'm saying it's okay, but I tell you what's not okay. To do nothing. If you're feeling lost, you're not quite sure who you're meant to be, what you're meant to be doing. It's okay, young men out there, but don't do nothing. Keep on crossing things off your list.
Yeah.
Go, follow your instinct, have a crack at something, and if it doesn't quite fit, guess what? Then you know that's not the direction.
Yeah.
But go and have a crack at something else, but don't stand still.
Yes.
You
Well said. Because life is a quest, especially when you're young. So keep questing. If you haven't found it yet, keep questing.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
It was for me this year, maybe not a starting point, but a return to understanding you need to live your values and be living your values. And that's what I did this year and really came back to doing these things that matter, really matter to me. And you know what it is for me, Bern, and you've given me such a great opportunity to do this. It's being useful.
Yeah.
In being useful in a loving way to other people, and how much more meaning that brings me. How much it affects everything in my life, right down to I'm just a calmer person when I'm doing this. Even though I've got more stuff on my plate, it's because it's all part of the purpose. It's actually a calming force. It's not a source of overwhelm or anxiety,
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. It's Christmas time, dear people, and we're here with the chipster, Lachlan Huddy. How the Daffy Duck are you? That's how I started the very first episode, because I didn't have a frigging clue what to say.
How the Daffy Duck? I like it.
Don't you ask me.
We're about to go deep, Ben.
I don't want to elaborate.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'll sound like John Cootis.
All right, yeah, well.
Hello, Johnny boy.
Hello, Johnny. Hey, Bernie, are we saving that till later? You want to give me a little John Cootis now? You give me a little John Cootis impression.
Hey, Bernie, don't you go too deep on me now. Dear people, welcome to this episode of A Journey with Bernie. We're going to be announcing what 2024 looks like, and I promised you, dear listeners, and I was so committed to turning this podcast into a world world-class experience for people. But, mate, we've been meeting lately, and guess what? We got plans.
Oh, yeah.
May I start with the first one, because I want our listeners to recognise and realise what I see in us, Chip.
Yes. Yeah, then I want you to take the lead here as Toastmaster champion. You might be able to paint a prettier picture than I can.
Well, for those of you who are outside of Australia, we've got a couple of characters here who made their name in the Sydney Olympics. They were called Roy and HG. And reality is that Roy wouldn't be anywhere near as effective without HG, and HG wouldn't be the terrific comedian and entertainer that he is without Roy. It's 1 + 1 = 7 with those two. I'm talking about a Laurel and Hardy, a Rowan and Martin.
Good. Let's not set the bar too high, shall we?
And we're not comedians. I'm not dare suggesting that, but I am making an announcement to our listeners right here and now. Whatever my ego says about my role in this podcast, I just know that we have a better product with Chip Huddy involved.
You're too kind, mate. You're too kind.
Mate, the loaded questions, the take-home pay, mate, they're just little incidents. They're just little contributions. But, mate, when you speak, I fear that everybody's going to take more notice of what you say than what I say.
Oh, you're already onto my fiendish plan, eh? You're onto me, Bern.
Well, I hope so, mate, because there's about 30 years difference between us. Is that correct?
Yes, just less.
30 years, mate.
I'm catching you. But yeah.
This is going to be a global, sustainable product for a long period of time. I couldn't think of anything better, mate. 15 years from now is the Chipster. It's not just a journey with Chip. What would it be called? A chapter with Chip?
A chapter with Chip sounds good for now.
Chip. You'll own your own channel.
Channels with Chip. We're crossing all the airwaves, all the internet waves.
Well, dear listeners, you're going to see when you finally get to our website. Yeah, that's not too far away either, dear listeners. We're going to be able to give you a website address, and you'll be able to go on that website, and you're going to see a lot of things. You'll be able to download the various episodes. You'll be able to see all the excerpts from the episodes that have preceded this one, and you'll be able to tap in anytime, possibly in most cases visually, as well as from an audio, like we have done on Spotify, Amazon, and Apple, etc. before.
It's the hub. It'll be the hub for all things AJWB. Plus C.
Now, mate, are you ready for this? I'm seeing
born ready.
Profile pic on that website.
Yeah.
The typical Bernie icon, which has him on the Ganges, Varanasi in the background, looking sideways, a journey with Bernie, and just underneath it, and Chip.
And Chip. And maybe we'll just get a little graphic, just like a little piece of tape with "and Chip" written on it, you know?
And that's because, dear listeners, 1 + 1 does equal 7, and the value to you is enhanced dramatically by having Chip Huddy involved. So that's
He's too good to me.
2024.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is, mate. It is really exciting. And I'm so excited for us. I could say I'm excited for you, but I'm excited for us because we are a better product, a better offering than what we had before when Bernie was doing it by himself.
Yeah, I hope so, mate. I really appreciate that.
I know. Otherwise, I wouldn't have invited you.
I had to pass the test. I had to pass long, grueling tests on the trails in Nepal.
Now, buddy, we've had another significant shift because if I did a survey of people and I said, a journey with Bernie, what is it? Most people would say it's a podcast. Well, guess what, dear listeners? From now on, yeah, it's the name of a podcast, but that's not what it really is all about. A journey with Bernie is an invitation to you, the listeners, to join a humble man like me and the Chipster here on our pathway to discover a lifestyle. A journey with Bernie, it's a pathway, it's a lifestyle, it's a way of seeing possibility. The objectives of the pathway are still discovering strategies and actions on how to create inner joy and happiness within self. Now, what is interesting about that, Chip, is that I actually didn't start with becoming a more loving human being. Now, why? Because by looking at inside of self first and discovering ways to create your own joy, you get too much joy in your life, dear people. I've got some big news for you. You're not going to be worried about you at all. Too happy. Too happy. And if you're that happy, guess what? You can start to give it away. And what does that look like? A loving human being. So in our discussion, we've sort of like identified that the emphasis has to be on growing our own inner happiness, our own joy, so that we can give it away in the form of love of life, love to people, and keep on generating love of self. And the outcome of all that is the third objective. It brings more meaning to our lives. Happiness, love, meaning. Hey, does that mean we should change the order of the words on the icon?
It sounded, a bit of rebranding. I like it. It does trip off the tongue a little nicer, doesn't it?
So, dear people, the Chipster, he's part of the team. It's no longer a journey with Bernie. It's a journey with Bernie and Chip.
Plus Chip.
Journey with Bernie is a lifestyle, a pathway.
A philosophy.
A philosophy.
Philosophy is a very useful way to think about it, I think.
Developing, evolving philosophy.
As all good philosophies must be.
We're not saying we've got the philosophy at all, but we're saying let's join our listeners, let's ask them to join us, and let's evolve this philosophy where the objectives are greater inner happiness, sustainable joy within, so that we can express that as a more loving human being and therefore bring greater meaning to our lives.
Exactly. It's shifting the world one person at a time.
Now, the question then becomes, how? What are the elements of the pathway? And you were alluding to it before. You first of all said the mind, the head. Now, your definition of what's involved in the development of the mind and the head, what fits in there, Chip?
I would say the accumulation of knowledge, the testing of that knowledge, to then temper it into wisdom.
I love that, mate. I love that. I got a feeling we're not going to go too far away. One of the values of a journey with Bernie and Chip being thirst for wisdom. Not just love of learning. It's thirst for wisdom.
Yeah.
And who are we to decide what is wise and who is not? But that is where, in that part of the mind and thirst for wisdom, I can see us being a catalyst for offering our people retreats. Not with us, but with a Chad Foreman.
Yeah.
Why not? But why don't we look up when Sadhguru's coming to Australia? Why don't we actually invite people to go to India? I'm going to Vipassana, a Nepal 10-day silent retreat in Kathmandu. Why am I the only one going? Other people could actually join us. What about Thich Nhat Hanh's Plum Village in France? Wow, mate.
Yeah, now you're getting me psyched.
There's so much opportunity for us to be the catalyst for people going to a portal, a one-stop portal, whereby I want to join that particular experience somewhere in the globe.
100%.
But maybe as an example, recently we had a Chad Foreman Day. We hosted a Chad Foreman Day. Give it a minute. What was the day about for you? You never met Chad until then.
No.
Yeah.
No, and you know what? My impression of him on that day was a far gentler of human even than he comes across in the podcast, because in the pod, like he got very passionate.
Yeah, ruthless.
Yeah.
I believe society is a bit sick, and there's a famous quote: "It's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." Yeah. And I just thought what that society was asking of me, to work my entire life, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, just have a roof over my head, and it just seemed like a scam, for want of a better word.
I feel like a few of the stories he related that day, which for me, by the way, was about finally really taking steps to start a meditation practice in my own life. I believe in it. I've read so much. I've heard so much. You've heard people talk about it. And I just needed to kick up the arse to get it into my life. So, Boone, thank you for that.
Yeah, but mate, I'm going to ask the question, why do you want the meditation? What's the benefit to you? What are you chasing there, mate?
First and foremost, on the prosaic level, the ability to really master and direct my own attention, and then using that to, what we were talking about before, be more present in the moment, be particularly more present with other people, be a more loving human being, it's a tool to be better for other people.
Beautiful, mate, beautiful. Prosaic, mate. I took it once.
Never you, Bern. That would be a crime against nature for you to be on Prozac. I tell you what, I don't think a Prozac couldn't do anything to you, mate. Yeah. It couldn't make a dent in that joy. I don't believe it.
Well, buddy, it was a great day with you.
It was fantastic.
But that's just a metaphor and an example of what we can provide for people. So I'm trying to think of, Mark Nuss and Destiny's Rescue, for example. What can we actually? Well, that's not part of the mind. That's actually part of the spirit.
I put that in spirit.
And the added value. What about Rena Augustine when she said, where are Aussies going to the elderly homes on Christmas Day?
Every Christmas, we went to old age homes. Okay? So Christmas for me was old age homes. When I came to Australia, my first Christmas, I was like, why are people not going to old age homes? And Charlene, this lady, told me, Rena, what are you talking about? I said, we grew up every Christmas. Mum used to bake cakes. We go to the church in the midnight, sleep. Afternoon, Christmas Day, we went to old age homes because in India, the old age homes in Gujarat, lots of old people were there and they were waiting for somebody to come and talk to them.
Yeah. Well, I can hear dear Rena inviting everyone that's a listener to a journey with Bernie because she's going down to Manly to an elderly home on Christmas Day. Let's join her and sing the carols.
Yeah. Yeah, and listeners, just sit with that thought for a second and imagine how much more meaningful that would make your Christmas. By all means, you're going to have time to spend with family and friends. Do that and engage in that love. But then imagine going to an elderly home, something similar, and incorporating that into your Christmas day as well. Whether secular, religious, doesn't matter. That's going to make that day so much more meaningful.
But the thing that we're saying is through us, we're going to give them a pull.
Exactly.
Which they can actually become aware that these things are available. That's our dream here, dear listeners. But we just want to supply tools and opportunities and events and activities so that our listeners can access these opportunities through the journey with Bernie. It'll be on the website. Everything will be on the website.
Isn't it wonderful too, listeners, that it's taken Bernie this long to get a website? just to give you a look at how old school this man really is. And I love it, mate.
Well, buddy, that's because I only saw it initially as a podcast. But now the podcast is but a vehicle.
It is an entree
to actually practice and explore the philosophy of it all.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So now, also what we also want to do is we want to create more, and there are some people out there who want more. So part of the way of doing that is to create, shall I use the word coaching circle or maybe VIP club? I don't think we've actually identified exactly what we're going to name it.
But I think those phrases give people the flavour.
Yeah.
This is what we're going for. Yeah.
Dear people, there will be an opportunity for you to invest in this. I'm making it up, and I run a risk here of even putting a weekly price in. But imagine $2 a week, right? $2 a week. But we promise to you that what we will do is we're going to interview our guest after they've finished the podcast you're used to hearing, with Chip's loaded questions, with Chip's take-home pay. That's all still intact, right? But we're going to interview them for a further 20 minutes. And this is going to become a special offering to those who are members of our VIP club. Those who, our coaching circle, call it what you may. Also, in addition to that, I would suggest every 2 months, 6 times a year, Chip. Okay? So what we will do is, at the end of every 2-month period, you and I are going to come together and we're going to create a summary episode of the 8 or 9 episodes that have been part of that 2-month period. Just imagine 1 hour in which we're taking the best of the best out of the previous 8 or 9 episodes and moulding and shaping them into part of the philosophy, part of the journey.
I see. A really refined, a really well thought out and considered version of the Chapter with Chip episode we did, a few months ago.
That's right. That's exactly right. Exactly right. But we're going to offer that to our VIP members. I don't like that term. Our coaching circle. Our people out there who want more. We're going to deliver more so that you can embrace this journey even more than you already beautifully do.
Yeah.
Now, in amongst all that too, what about the trips to Nepal?
Oh, don't get me started. We'll never get out of here.
Chipster, and why Nepal? Why don't we go to Bhutan?
It's right. Well, I mean, it's right there.
Well, I'm making a mistake here because I shouldn't be talking about a name like Nepal or Bhutan. I should be talking about what it's really about, which is about connecting with those beautiful people of countries like Nepal and Bhutan and learning from their spiritual ambience. But what about the powerful forces of nature, mate? Chip, you've been there twice now. The journey to Everest Base Camp.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, mate. Give us 30 seconds. What's the power and the benefit to you of being in that for 2 weeks, the power of the Himalayas?
Yeah, well, we spoke about this when I talked about walking in the Parashay Valley. And you never get closer to those mountains than in those moments. And the sense of scale that you get and the insignificance that you feel about yourself. Now that's not a bad thing. Maybe insignificance isn't the right word, but it puts your life in perspective next to these, titanic ancient forces. And it's a beautiful thing because, yes, maybe you don't matter as much as your ego wants you to, but it also means that the suffering doesn't matter as much either. And you feel, this is a bit more esoteric. Take it for what it's worth. You feel connected to these things because they're right there. They're closer. And someone like me, that I need something like that to kind of shake me out of my complacency. It's phenomenal. I mean, that's what you do these treks for.
Yeah. No, that's beautifully said. For me, notice when I'm on the trip, I just love getting away from you guys.
I thought I was getting away from you.
Yeah, I was letting you go forward. You thought, finally I've left everything behind.
I was just letting you work your magic on all those lovely ladies on the trail, mate.
Oh, let's not go there. I'm talking about the lovely lady of Everest herself, Sagamata.
Another goddess.
That mountain, I'm going, you are 50 to 100 million years old. How many people have you seen? Did you see the dinosaurs ever? And there I am, actually walking in her presence, yet just one other simple, humble human being. And Everest has been watching it for 50 million years. That makes me feel insignificant. And yet, at the same time, mate, I'm breathing in a freshness of oxygen that's come from the forest of the Himalayas, that's gone through, what's the word, not metamorphosis, when it goes through the leaves. What's that scientific word where the leaves turn it all?
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis, thank you, Chip. That's why you're here.
I nearly didn't get that one, but we got there.
Photosynthesis and prosaic, there's the two.
There you go, that's your words for the day. That'll be part of the VIP club too. We'll start a word of the week.
Through the photosynthesis, mate, you're breathing in every part of that nature. That's there. So there's the connector. You're with the grandeur. Yeah. As Ines, the beautiful Austrian girl, one of those very early chapters there, as she said, she can feel so small and yet so grand at the same time. And that's a powerful experience. Hey, let's create more of those, and let's invite our listeners to join us.
Yeah.
Yeah? Nepal, Bhutan. But why not the Camino across Spain? Why not? What about the walks of Tasmania? What about the walks of New Zealand? Oh, for goodness sake, Chip, they're everywhere. Why are we offering 3-weekers when we can also be a catalyst for weekenders?
Yeah. If you just want to dip the toe, if you don't want to commit to the longer ones, but also these things are wonderful because you can start to think about a trip in more terms than a holiday. Yeah.
Now, buddy, the other thing, how many books get mentioned in our podcast?
Lots. You don't mind a book title drop, do you?
Well, mate, I bought you a Christmas gift.
Stop it.
I have. I bought you a Christmas gift, and it is the podcast book of the year.
Oh, alrighty.
Yeah. Now,
this is a genuine surprise. Sweet. Let me see this.
I wrapped up your Christmas gift, mate.
Do I have to open it in front of the mic?
In an image that occasionally reminds me of you.
Now I get it.
Mate, there's just a little bit.
Show them. Show
bit.
everyone.
There's just a little bit of you in the. Here it is.
Yeah, well, hang on. Let me hear. I gotta.
Mary, whatever.
Yeah, no. Here, I'll hold that. See, there you go. It does. Yeah, there's a bit. There's a resemblance. There's a resemblance. I see. Give me one of the hats, and we're covered.
The podcast book of the year. It's inside. It's your copy. Here it is.
Ooh, here we go. Hang on. The suspense is killing me.
Okay.
The suspense is killing me.
Know what it is already.
Oh, actually, that is fantastic. I have been very keen to get into this one. Thanks, mate. No, Bern, that's fantastic. Thank you.
It's mentioned every second.
Every second. I think we're even on probably a 1.5 average by now, but that's brilliant. Jeez, that's a beautiful book too. Don't you? Audiobooks are nice. Kindles. No, look at. I'm wrecking the place.
Yeah.
Kindles are nice. Audiobooks are nice, but there's just nothing like a real book. That's beautiful. Thank you, sir. Well, that's fantastic. And thank God you did, because I didn't want you to feel bad, because I've actually got you a little something too. All right. And can you believe it's also a book? Because what else could I have gotten Mr. Bernie Kelly himself? But this one, I think this is going to work very well for you. It's actually called The Happiness Trap.
Chat for me, mate.
Yeah, there you go.
That one over here. You mate.
You like that one?
Mate, that one can go to Nepal with me.
Yeah.
Absolutely, mate.
Because, you're 2 days. You're going back in 2 days.
Yeah, mate, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, well, I hope it puts you in good stead. I think it will.
Well, Merry Christmas to you, mate.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa.
Thank you, mate.
And Happy Diwali.
Okay.
Because that began this week.
Yeah, listen, you just got an example as to why you said it. There's no way in the world I could agree to the globe like that.
There you go.
Oh, Chips, Nepal.
He's too kind.
Listeners here. We're trying to communicate to them what 2024 looks like, and we've been all over the shop here.
Yeah, as is our want.
Come on, mate. We're going to create a book club too.
Yep.
We don't. By the way, this is the dream. Okay, dear listeners. When some elements of this will happen, and maybe we're going to discover as we try to become an affiliate with Amazon or some book distributor that we can't do things as simply as we possibly thought we could. There's things yet to be discovered. We'll update you in 2024. Let's make dot point summaries. Let's not get deviated. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here we go. Okay, mate. All right, number 1. A Journey with Bernie and Chip.
Yes. I can't stop saying.
No deviation.
Buttoned.
A Journey with Bernie is a brand that describes a lifestyle. It's no longer the name of just a podcast. It's a pathway. It's inviting our listeners to join us in discovering an evolving, growing philosophy that we believe can inspire our 3 objectives. But now we know that our first objective is to help everyone to create sustainable inner happiness and joy.
Perfect.
Why? Because with that joy, you can beautifully forget about yourself. Stop the inner focus and put yourself in a beautiful position to share that joy in the form of love with other people and the game of life. And why? We think, someone else may have another perspective on it, we think this adds great meaning to our existence and to the globe. Some of the how-tos, there'll be the podcast, but we're also going to do some special things in the podcast, a summary episode, an additional 20 minutes for those who want more. We might ask a humble fee, $2 a week, $3 a week. But in addition to that, help me out, Chip, there's a few other elements to it. Book clubs, where we'll be doing retreats, we'll be doing other community-minded events. We'll be looking at really expanding the scope of the treks that Bernie's already so good at facilitating. And listen, I'm just going to throw this one at you, but we haven't spoken about this, but I think in terms of my skills, what about some video courses? What about Chad's 21 days of meditation via video, accessible by anyone on the planet? Things like this. Well, mate, now you're talking, because our listeners could say, well, how are you going to supply retreats to me when I live in Alaska?
Exactly, yeah.
Or Kansas City. So how are you going to do that? Well, let's do that through the video and streaming and all the things that you'll be in charge of.
Thank you, sir.
I suppose the clarification, we're not going to be, supplying all those retreats, but we want to be a catalyst for you to be able to access them.
Exactly.
Maybe for our VIP members, our coaching circle, call it what you may. Maybe there's 10% off the retreat price for a Chad foreman. I mean, Chad will charge 150, but maybe we can negotiate with a Chad and for our guests, they get it for 135. I'm making stuff.
Exactly.
Sorry, Chad, I didn't mean to use as an example.
We love you though, Chad. That's why you're always top of mind.
It's exciting, mate, isn't it? I was with someone in the last few days, and I shared the dream with them. And as I was sharing it, you should have seen the smile on their face.
Really?
Oh, mate. But they explained that they were even more smiling about the energy and the joy that was coming out of, my existence, my body, my presence, there. And the person said, I could just feel the excitement and the clarity and the vision of what I was talking about. Let's give it a crack in 2020.
Let's give it everything we have. You got a deal?
Yeah, mate, I'm going to the pool soon. Can you start the website?
I thought you'd never ask. I actually did begin that process just last night, listeners, so there we go.
Yeah, listeners, you know what we should ask you to do? We should ask you a couple of things, please. If you think you're excited by this, why don't you follow us, please? Get there and subscribe to us, please. But why don't you comment? You are the listeners. You tell us what you want.
Exactly. Yeah, get in touch. Become engaged. So what we're trying to do moving forward with the Journey with Bernie is to build that community. Build a community. So look, become part of your community is what we're asking you to do, guys.
Well, there's another reason why I've invited you on board, mate. You've just said exactly the right words. That's exactly what we're trying to do. But a community who collectively together are exploring and evolving that philosophy. Which, by the way, let's be honest with you, some of it's Buddhist, some of it, comes out of our own journeys and our own experiences, and it's all intermixed together, but it becomes a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of seeing, a way of being.
Yeah.
Like, wow, Chip, How great is life, mate?
Exactly. And it really is. And this is about, one, opening people's eyes to that, and two, just getting them to dive in head first, you know?
Well, come on, dear listeners. You get on Spotify, get on Apple, get on Amazon Music, get on YouTube, please.
We're on the tube.
Need your suggestions, please.
We need your engagement.
Absolutely, because we're preparing this for you, and I promise you, guess what? It going global.
Oh, there you go.
Hey,
See that fire.
Oh,
we're taking on.
Watch out, brothers.
Yeah, we're coming for you. Rich, Tim, I love those guys.
And Rich and Tim, by the way, one day it'll happen. You'll be on this podcast.
Yeah, put a pin in that. Hold us to that, listeners.
Only after Oprah.
She's a favourite of yours, isn't she?
Oh, Super Soul Conversation.
Yeah, mate. No, they're fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've actually got to support that Super Soul Conversation because that is exactly congruent with what we're about.
Oh, yeah. It's very on brand, to use the parlance.
But I'll tell you what, buddy, we've got some other celebrations too. I mean, we've had a fantastic 2023.
Yeah, some bumper guests.
Oh, mate, what about just even recently? John Kudis.
Yes, well, I'm yet to hear him. I tell you what, I'm excited.
Yeah, well, that's because we've actually downloaded this before John's Kudis's episode has gone out.
Yes.
I can tell you now, that was just out of this world.
He had a good time. I can tell you, you were just you were buzzing after you recorded that one.
Well, I've never been told to fuck off.
He has a way with his fucks. Does our John?
We may have to cut that.
What is wrong with being offended?
Yeah.
It gives us resilience.
Love it.
It teaches us shit. There is nothing wrong with being offended, and people think there is.
Beautiful, mate.
You know, I've been offended my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, all the time I stand in front of a mirror naked, I'm offended. How many blokes do you know that can stand up and his willy drags on the ground?
Stop it.
You know?
It's a family show, JC.
Not anymore, Bertie. We've got over that mark. But you know what? There is nothing wrong with being offended.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
But Donna Lee, perfect. I heard a story, but also, you know what Donna's message was? Donna said, you've got to embrace these pains and these chaoses, no matter how deep is the suffering, because the flip end of them, like Bella Cameron suggested in her episode, around about a couple of months ago, she said the flip side of that pain and the chaos is its brother and sister, which is a greater capacity to discover just how much love is within you. You know?
Yeah.
And she said it's because of the pain of seeing her mother murdered in front of her eyes.
We're talking about Donna now.
Donna, perfect, yeah. Going to see, going to live in 13 foster care homes.
Oh, lucky 13.
In the space of around about 4 or 5 years, between 7 and 12. And now she's able to utilise that pain in order to bring even more awareness and more goodness and more value to primary school children with her Resilient Rockstar program.
A great name, isn't it?
But I can't get over
It's
it, Donna.
like, wow, you know, what a beautiful gift. Like if you can like see it this way, that every single experience of trauma, adversity, whatever, can roll out in a way that not only you can be healed from, but you can help others to heal because of it.
You changed the meaning of it. You changed the meaning of all your trauma.
That's right.
The trauma was once trauma.
And now it's a gift.
Now it's a gift.
That I'm grateful for.
Oh, get out of it.
Because these things happened to me.
Yeah.
Not because of me.
You got to say that one more time, please.
Because these things happened to me. Not because of me.
So they don't define you.
That's right.
I'll get out of it.
That's right. You know, I love Dr. Wayne Dyer's quote, and I use this often. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Well, Nathan Flynn, mate. Come on, test it.
Nathan Flynn, the ex-bikie. Those are the kind of stories I really enjoy when you really, a lot similar to Donna's, which I haven't listened to yet. I'm really looking forward to that. A real intensity. This is a guy who went through it. And I think what we're seeing emerging in all of these episodes, you're seeing people who've gone through great hardship, and it really alerts them and hopefully us and our listeners too to how interlinked life is, because what you were talking about, their great pain then becomes somehow their great triumph, their great gift, their great pleasure even, and it's so often the greatest experiences in life tend to be either one or the other side of the same coin.
Absolutely.
And that's what you get with Nathan. And we, particularly, I think it was interesting, and you can talk about this more, but his religious experience that he had early on, which wasn't really a positive one, and how that sort of paved the way going forward.
Well, in a way, it turned out to pave the way because it actually crushed him. And again, we're not here to cast a dispersion on a particular religion, but in this particular case, it framed him in such a way that it crushed his esteem and his worth and his value. And he found worth and value in the head of a bikie gang.
Yeah, he found a tribe. We're always searching for tribe. And that tribe can be affirming and beautiful and uplifting, or it can really go the other way.
But the story there that adds value to our learning and our discovery was then through the violence that he took on by being a part of the bikie gang, he lands in 5 years of prison. And he finds a student who's on assignment doing some work at the prison, and they begin to fall in love, and he explains the power and the value of love letters. Can you ever remember writing one of those letters, and how did you feel at the end of that process of having written the letter over 4 hours? I'm making it up now.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the reality of it. It was something like that. It was at least 4 or 5 hours at a time of writing a letter.
Can you remember how you felt?
I would, if anything, I would say it's like a burden or a weight being taken off you, that you feel like you have a sense of release,
like a cleansing?
of tension. Correct. Yeah. And I think that's as well, like, beneficial in all relationships, even now, married and being at home, is that, which is very hard to do, but the communication being free-flowing and able to have longer-form conversations, I feel is how it's the easiest way to resolve issues, because then you have time to actually listen. I think that was a part of it as well, which is hard to translate from letter writing to real world scenarios at home, is you have time to process your response to a letter.
I can't believe how he narrowed down into the value of expressing self without time constraint. This was a breakthrough thought for me. Here am I, and if I want to tell someone that I love them or I value them, it's under a time constraint. So I've got to think really quickly of exactly the word that expresses my feeling. But he had a whole day in prison. That's when he discovered that without the time constraint, he could exactly nail what he was feeling. And even then learn to find the right words to describe what he was feeling. And he advocated to everybody, eliminate time constraints, time limitations when you're with someone and you want to express an affirmation, your feelings to other people. Take time away. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. And all I'd add to that too is not only did giving himself the space to really think these things through, allow him to express them really well. But the mere act of trying to express them perfectly allowed him to come to a deeper understanding of how he felt.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now look what he's doing. Talk about conversion, right, or transformation. Now he's talking to particularly young men, some who are disenfranchised with school, they're marginalised young citizens, not quite sure where they're going. They're risk. They're risk at the moment. The pathways are risk as to where they're going to head.
Yeah.
And there he is to rescue them, to paint pictures for them so they can consider other options.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, it's close to both your and my hearts. I mean, we were both very young men one time, and it's, you know, to some people it's still not a popular thing to say, but you know, it's tough. It is tough to be a young man right now.
It is,
and they, you know, because they were our soldiers, and that's one of the strange things about living in such a lucky country with such abundance and safety. You know, what do we do with guys who are at a stage of life where they're kind of hardwired to take risks and to get amongst it, you know? And they do find that, I think a lot of young men are finding themselves at a loose end because that meaning's been taken away. So we need to, it's so important what Nathan's doing because he's bringing that meaning back.
Absolutely. Well, for what it's worth, Chip, I actually believe that it's okay for a young man up to 28 years of age, plus or minus 2.
I like that you got that firm number. That's great.
30, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? To be totally lost. I'm saying it's okay, you know, but I tell you what's not okay. To do nothing. You know, if you're feeling lost, you're not quite sure who you're meant to be, what you're meant to be doing. It's okay, young men out there, but don't do nothing. Keep on crossing things off your list.
Yeah.
Go, follow your instinct, have a crack at something, and if it doesn't quite fit, guess what? Then you know that's not the direction.
Yeah.
But go and have a crack at something else, but don't stand still.
Yes.
You know?
Well said. Because life is a quest, especially when you're young. So keep questing. If you haven't found it yet, keep questing.
Beautiful, mate. Just beautiful. Okay, I'll mention another name that we've enjoyed. Robert Wall. You got a memory?
Yeah, well, I have many, but what I love about what Robert does, and for those who don't know, I can't remember, Robert runs a company called Natural Ability, and they run very specific personality tests that are all about identifying what you are naturally good at. So I won't say effortless, but things that you're going to pursue anyway, right? And really allowing you to hone in on that. What I love about that is particularly, but like everyone's so busy. Time's at such a premium these days. I think it's so important to understand what your superpower is, because there might be some times where you want to tackle something you're not naturally good at, right? And so it's important to have this
leadership prizes and all that.
You're a spiritual brother.
You just looked me in the eyes and said, well, look what you're doing now, Bernie.
Yeah.
And the relationship between who I am at this stage of my life and way back then at 14 years of age, it's really quite remarkable.
Yeah, and like, how aware were you of that before Robert mentions that? Because you would, I mean, obviously you would have been. You're a self-insightful guy, but I mean, it was still a bit of a moment when he talked about it for you, wasn't it?
But I never associated the two. If he asked me to speak about my childhood, I always say, I get a maths assignment and I do the assignment on Mother Teresa. You know?
Oh, that's 1,000% Bernie. Yeah.
Or John Kennedy. You know, I was always interested in what made people great. I was curious about that. And I have mentioned that before, but to suggest to our parents out there, this was the real message. Stop wanting your child to be who you want them to be. Have a look at your child's superpower, their innate abilities and in some cases they're starting to become obvious, even at a young, tender age, and let go of your own ego, parents, to mould them and shape them as you want them to be and foster that superpower. Remember Robert said he wanted his kid to be an engineer or a first-class academic, and discovered that the kid is an absolute rock star as a punk singer.
The day my wife and I, my son, when he early started this band, he didn't want us to see it because he thought probably we were going to criticize him.
Yeah.
And we went to this club and we mingled with them a little bit, and there were people all over the place. And he said, "Okay, I've got to go on stage." And the lights went down, and then he started clicking these drumsticks. And like cockroaches when the light comes on, but the opposite, just people scattered and just pushed up onto this stage. Yeah. And this purple light hit him, and he started. And for us, it was like, oh my God, he is just transformed.
Wow.
And we became his greatest fan.
Yeah.
And quit telling him what he should do and trying to, and just said, how can we support you?
There it is.
Yeah, it's a cracking story, isn't it? It's inspiring too. It gets you kind of pumped up.
Yeah.
It got me pumped up to go down. I still haven't done it, but I am going to go down, and I'm going to take those tests because I'd just love to know.
Yeah.
So
that's www, 3 W's there, .naturalability.
.com.au.
You know that for sure?
It is a .au.
Jeez, that's why you're here.
Hey. Return on investment, Bern.
All right, mate. Okay, you're allowed to say 3 words, each with a comma in between. Can't be associated words. You can have a hyphen word as one. I'm going to mention her name, right? And first 3 words that come into your head. Okay, here we go. Marina Augustine.
Please marry me. What? Ooh. I hope my wife's not listening. No, wasn't she delightful?
Mate,
Joy, intention, clarity, and purpose personified.
Innate happiness. Just incredible. The young 23-year-old girl from Western Southern India, if I remember correctly, a family of 7, needing to work reasonably young because Dad passed away in inopportune time, finds a way out to Australia and calls it home and has a message for all migrants. Stop living in the one suburb together. What she really saying was, don't bring India to Australia. Don't bring Vietnam to Australia. Embrace Australia and tell them who India is. Go to people and announce who you are. Show them how you can make a contribution to the Australian environment. I don't want to call it culture because I'm not big into this programming, conditioning of culture. This is something I also have learned along the way, I don't want to be conditioned anymore by saying I have to participate in the Australian culture. I love many things of our spirit. I understand all that, but I'm a member of the globe.
You're a man of the world. Yeah.
I don't want to be defined by I'm just Australian. She teaches me that.
Yeah.
Rena Augustine, you beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul.
Yeah. Just she was radiant. I mean, and it comes across in her voice in that interview. So I highly recommend you listen to that if you haven't yet. All I'd add to that, because I 100% agree with all that, Bern. But what I loved about when she said, I'm going to play this excerpt. So when she said about really seizing the day in the present moment.
That emptiness, knowing that you can be gone tomorrow. Losing my brother 2 years ago, when he was very close to me, he was my greatest cheerer. And he said to me, Rena, you never know what's next in your life. So You make a decision and do it now because you have the opportunity. You can go tomorrow like this.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening tomorrow. So whatever you want to do it now.
Yeah.
Because people save the best of their life thinking that I'll do it after I retire. I'll do it, use this for an occasion. No, the occasion is now. You wear the best clothes now.
And I love that. And this is my writerliness coming through. Because all she's saying there essentially is you wear your best clothes, carpe diem, seize the day, do it now. And that's, that's so true, but it's become a cliche because it's so true, because it's been, repeated ad nauseum. But she's found with those fantastic words a way to make that new and shiny again, and suddenly hits you right between the eyes. And you're reminded of why that sentiment's a cliche, because it's so deeply true.
Absolutely. Are you feeding your mind?
I don't know how she'd feel about your impression, Vern, but give me a minute.
Your mind? With
good thoughts.
The right thoughts.
The right thoughts. Yeah, I get it.
That was a jab that knocked me out. It was soft, but it had so much behind it that I think it was like Muhammad Ali knocking out Floyd Patterson in the third round with a left jab.
Just a little feathery one, yeah. There is something about these pearls being delivered in that gorgeous accent too,
Just beautiful. All right, hey, let's go to the Chad.
Got to go to the Chad.
Because we also interviewed him for the second time.
I think schools should just be all about trying to create a new vision for society. We should have every primary school kid in their breaks coming up with new ways and using their intelligence and their creativity of how to do it. Because what we're doing right now is not working. People are miserable. Mental health's going, through the roof. Depression, anxiety, all this sort of thing. We're destroying the environment. Our society is not a healthy one. We need to change radically. And we need some new ideas and some new vision.
Mate, I'm tearing up.
And that was people commented it's such a different episode than the initial one. Enlightened companies.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
That's the fire. Yeah.
Enlightened companies. When you heard that phrase, or when you reflect on that phrase, have you got any colour as to what an enlightened company, as he was suggesting it, what it looks like? How is it different from a company that exists today?
It's does not have as its driving and near totally dominant force the profit motive. I just don't think that it can. It has to genuinely put people first and people's well-being first. And that's not just its employees, that's not just its shareholders, that's not just any other stakeholders. It's a global perspective because companies exist in this world. They exert an effect on this world, often a huge effect. And so that is why it's absolutely paramount that they put people first, because these are the guys that can shift the needle the farthest.
Absolutely. Enlightened companies. From what you just said there, I'll try to add a little bit more colour. It's about connection. It's not just about delivering a product and a transaction to the customer. It's about connecting with their heart and their soul as a person. and it's about creating environments in which you're not just performing a role, but you're actually forming a community inside the company. You're actually a catalyst for people, dare I say it, for people actually going down a journey with Bernie, evolving philosophical pathway. You actually become a company in which you're fostering love, connection, nurture, care, innovation, creation, adding value, service to the way that you operate. And this is just my own personal opinion, I cannot imagine a company that chose that as their purpose that would not be rewarded.
Exactly.
With customerage and patronage for their products, and people would pay for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Change. They would buy. We're going to find out. I wonder what they'll buy our VIP members.
I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good about it so far.
Well, I'm feeling good at it because we're driven by the purpose, mate.
Exactly.
We're driven by the purpose, which is...
You got to go with the purpose first,
Absolutely.
and then the profits will follow. I'm talking to companies now.
Absolutely.
You know, these big companies, their potential to make a difference is so vast.
Yeah.
So let's get them doing it.
Chad Foreman, Enlightened Companies. Wasn't that a great offering?
That's a wow.
I mentioned her name before, Bella Cameron. Now, what did she win? Straight.
The Australian Wearable Art.
Mate, I didn't know what that was
No, I confess I didn't either.
till I saw the incredible gun.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
For her Ukrainian grandma, called her Bushka. Did I get that right?
Yeah, because it was her babushka.
Yeah, babushka.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate. But to talk about what Bella gave us all, we've got to refer back to the first episode. Almost the ducks of a big private school here in Queensland, Australia. Almost the ducks. Bullied by, dare I say it, queen bees. That existed in her grade. A lot of pressure coming from all sorts of sources, some from within her own vicinity and her own environment. Felt this great need to become the doctor, the engineer, whatever, right? To utilise the OP score. I think she got an OP 2 or 1, whatever it was.
Just a quiet one, just the easy one, you know.
But in the process of the journey that unfolded after school, she collapses. Her esteem collapses. Her worth and her value collapses. Anorexia kicks in. I mean, the girl is on the verge of saying, what is there to life? And then she again starts to recognise an opportunity like Donna Lee Perfect, Nathan Flynn, Andrew D'Angelo, to convert that pain and that chaos into her gift and her offering, and consequently starts to follow her own passion and her own inner calling, and now is the queen of Australian wearable art.
And deservedly so. If anyone's not looked up the website with the pictures of her winning entry, have a look. Have a look. We'll include the links in the show notes.
Buddy, let's not bore them over Christmas, eh?
They're falling asleep in their eggnog.
Oh, how can you fall asleep, mate? They've heard about a dozen excerpts that are highlights.
Yeah. A dozen wows, as you'd say.
Hey, wow me, mate. As you've produced and edited so beautifully over the last 3, 4, 5 months, how have you shifted and changed in 2023? Has the podcast and its learnings being able to offer you something that slowly but surely, like a metamorphosis, is just shifting who Chip Huddy is?
Yeah, well, okay, thanks for hitting me with the big one with zero time to prepare, but you know what? It clearly has, because I got a very easy answer to that. It's really, I think this is so practical because this is such a great starting point, and it was for me this year, maybe not a starting point, but a return to understanding you need to live your values and be living your values. And that's what I did this year, and really came back to doing these things that matter, really matter to me. And you know what it is for me, Bernard? You've given me such a great opportunity to do this. It's being useful.
Yeah.
Being useful in a loving way to other people, and how much more meaning that brings me. How much it affects everything in my life, right down to I'm just a calmer person when I'm doing this. Even though I've got more
which is only no more than 4 seconds. Had it been a year ago, mate, I would have insisted it was there for a minute.
Well done, Bert. Mate, I love that you do that. That's good.
And if I say, thank you for asking me what's the greatest change in my life over 2.
Oh, you were too quick jumping in with that Grinch, with the Grinch dig. No, you can do it yourself, pal.
But I tell you what, mine is recent, and it's a different form of love, mate. And I've not shared this with you, right? But I think there's been times in my recent journey where love still has a snippet, a version, a part of its components is still needy. It's reaching out. It's wanting to grab. It's wanting to bring to me. But now I don't feel that way. Now, love for me is so very, very quickly becoming. I love because I choose to support. I choose to give of me. My love for me is at a point and a place where I'm so comfortable that now love is starting to really feel like a gift, not a want. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. It's the difference between external validation and internal validation, and connection with that, with what Chad was talking about.
Yeah.
With that emptiness.
Yeah.
Of which love is the fragrance.
Absolutely, mate. But it's not me going hallelujah, like I've arrived. No, not at all. I'm just sharing with you that in the pathway, in the journey, I would never have thought that I could actually feel love in this way. I'll give you another example, Chip, and you're going to be surprised at this. In all of my business and all my creations, AYDP, Y-Lead, Global Immersion, they all had to be Bernie-centric. Yeah. I had teams, but guess what? There was no way in the world that anyone in the team was going to be walking beside me. It was about Bernie. Bernie was the central focus and the central giver and the central attentive in it.
You were the lead dog.
Absolutely. And yet I'm letting you know now, mate, for the first time ever in that journey over 60 plus years. I love the 60 plus.
It's nice and mysterious, isn't it?
That's a good bird.
I'll let you have that. It's Christmas.
In the 60 plus years, I feel so comfortable with the 1 + 1 = 27. That is Bernie and Chip. Right? Not just a journey with Bernie, mate. A journey
That's Bernie Sanders.
And Chip, because I recognise really clearly, mate, that it's the duo, it's the power of us that adds more values to the listeners and them joining us on this terrific pathway of learning of a philosophy that can create inner happiness, greater joy, more love, and bring greater meaning to our lives. That too is part of the change and the shift.
Yeah.
Valuing the partnership and wanting to support the partnership rather than being centric.
You do me a great honour, sir.
Well, mate, that was not the purpose, as you know and understand. It was to explain. Sometimes I get shocked as to what else you can learn.
And it's beautiful. It's wonderful, isn't it? It's exciting.
It is.
But it never ends. The learning never ends.
Life just feels better.
Yeah.
Kids get better and better. Doesn't mean we don't have the sufferings. Oh yeah, yeah. I've had it. I can still name a few events which have created, some suffering.
Yeah.
Some people, recently in our journeys overseas, didn't see it in the way that we wanted to see it. It created a suffering. So it doesn't mean we eliminate those things at all. The handle and the coping of sufferings is different.
And the ability and propensity to draw something good out of those sufferings, that gets, that is an edge that you can keep honing as well.
You're a good man. You're a good man. Well, brother, sensational 2023. It's been a great time, mate, and everything's evolving, eh?
Yeah.
Can't wait for 2024.
I'm so pumped. I'm so psyched.
And I want to thank you, dear listeners, for your, what's another word other than patronage? Just for your involvement, your engagement, your faith, you're looking forward to, you're embracing.
Yeah. Your completion of the circuit. We can put this message out there, but until someone listens, the circuit's not complete.
You got it, mate. That's why you're here, Chip.
Is it?
You say the little gem.
That's all I got. I just take all your wisdom and then spin it nicely.
Well, a Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. A blessed Christmas too, Hey, have happy times with families. Let go of ego over Christmas. Hey, don't let those family occasions get on top of you,
Can be stressful.
Family members are going to say things, ride with it, for goodness sake, Add some blessings and add some beauty to a wonderful time of the year in which families do come together. Well, blessings upon you, the Chipster.
And blessings and peace upon you, Sir Bernie.
Absolutely, mate. More love to both of us, and love to you too, dear listeners, and we thank you ever so much. You ready, Chip? For being
out of A Journey with Bernie and Chip. Oh, nailed it. Look at that. That was absolute chorus. Well done. Well done.
Cheers, dear people.
Much love, beautiful people. Much love.
Bye-bye. Love you. Love you all. Bye-bye.
G'day, beautiful people. I'm Chip Huddy. That was A Journey with Bernie and Chip. And more importantly, this is Kit. And Kit's not here to stuff around, all right? He's here to tell you that he wants you to jump on Spotify. He wants you to jump on Apple Podcasts. He wants you to jump on whatever podcast player of choice is yours. And he wants you to subscribe to the show. And he wants you to leave us a 5-star review. 5 stars if you can, because that's what the algorithm looks for. All right? And we want you to be honest. We want you to tell us what we got right, what we got wrong, and where you want the show to go in future. Okay? Because at the end of the day, beautiful people, this is all about you. And most importantly, it's all about Kit. All right, that's all from us, my friends. As always, Auf Wiedersehen, and don't forget...